Good morning. Today's February the 27th,
Yes.
Wednesday. Blue Ribbon Committee for the People with Disabilities. And
Yes.
I'd like to start the meeting by calling it to order. And first thing we have, or the second thing we have is the review and approval of minutes of the January 16th meeting 2019.
Let me put you on.
Currently, we don't have a quorum. We need one more member for a quorum. So,
Yes, miss, we got a corner.
okay, so we have one more. We have two members on phone. So we just make quorum. And so we can go ahead and complete item number 2, agenda item number 2, review and approval of the minutes of January 16, 2019. You have a copy of the minutes there. For those of you who have them before you and had an opportunity to read them, can you please let me know if there are any changes or corrections or revisions that we would need to make?
Ms. Gutierrez, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Ms. Sara, are you
Yes,
hearing?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Thank you both. Mr. NFB, can you give us what that means?
National
Is it acronym for-
National Federation of the Blind.
National Federation.
Of the Blind.
Yeah, because I don't think we have it here. We just have the acronym.
We'll write it out.
Yeah.
The National Federation of the Blind.
Item 1, I have a question. It states, we decided to start with testimonials. I know that we talked about testimonials, but I think also we discussed a video showing, successful students with their VACs, for example, at job sites. I don't know if you would call that a testimonial per se. I know that we wanted to do testimonials with maybe the people who hire them or the owners of the business, but also some film of what it looks like, what it is, the training that goes on. I don't know what I would call it. What would you call that?
Successful.
Success stories
Success story.
and testimonials?
Yes. So we'll like that. Could you all discuss that?
You probably have to get a disclosure of the story.
We had spoken about making a portion on the education and training that's received by individuals
Yes, sir.
with disabilities.
Yes, sir.
We had spoken about the actual taping of them performing the job.
Yes, sir.
And then we had spoken about the last part where we have the actual individual organization who hired, providing, is it testimonial, or I guess,
So the business owner?
their perspective about
I think as well as a student, maybe.
so we're
employee?
looking at it.
and employee.
So we're looking at a video that includes all 3 elements or items,
Yes, sir.
unless there's something that I've missed.
No,
We covered it.
that's it.
So is the consumer the employer and what else?
It's the education and training that they receive, and I guess that would come from the school districts,
Right.
And then the actual work being taped there of
Yeah, taking
doing their
the
work.
students with a vocational adjustment coordinator on the job. That would be one piece of it, to show the training that goes on before students graduate.
And the last thing would be the actual employer indicating or conveying to us the reasons and their perspective of the persons that they've hired.
And also discussing, kind of mentioning with the actual employees.
Yeah, because he was saying a few words of how
Yes. The experience.
the experience of
And then you all
I
have
think
said,
one of the things was that we wanted to see what had what was the organizational culture that had led to them making a decision to go ahead and hire individuals with disabilities, and what had been the outcome, any positive outcome of that hiring. And so I think that's what we had collected and going in that direction. I guess we can work on the questions specifically that we want them to respond to, but that was basically the three elements that would constitute that taping.
We need to communicate that to BSC, right?
Y'all had said the three parts in the long one,
Right,
and then,
as a film.
and then
And then from there,
cut the shorter.
for the PSS.
Right.
So the questions to ask, is that something that's going to be provided by the committee or?
I think that we'd have to come up with
We'll
plans.
work on it. I guess the same group that's working on the,
Questions
Project.
for the.
for the film,
Oh,
just in general. Like a little framework so they
Yeah.
know what to talk about.
because the young man that we have from United, he already has, when he spoke, it was like, wow, you know, how he felt and how he feels now. So he's
Wow.
gonna say the same thing again.
So that will work out.
And I'm like, good boy.
So we're ready to take him.
No, yes, he's ready. He's anxious and ready to go.
And he's on the list that you sent us.
Yes, I
Yes.
sent it to Erica. I
And he
forwarded.
speaks very well, very clearly.
That's awesome.
So they've filmed him before?
He spoke at Student of the Month,
Oh,
how he
okay.
felt toward it.
Okay.
Wow, they did this kid on there.
I'm so glad you chose it. Because that's exactly what we want.
But he's ready. Whenever y'all are ready, just let me know.
Right,
Speak
let
to
me
Ms.
just
Dickey.
coordinate with, Pat, and we'll get that going. So we just got the LIZ, so that way we can work on it concurrently, so.
And you know what? Knowing Pat, probably after listening to him, they'll get a sense for
Yes.
what to do with the other student and I stuff. That's great.
Yes.
So the protocol that we're gonna go ahead and follow is that Dr. Rutincha and Erica will follow the hack.
I'll coordinate with Pat, yes.
Okay. Any other changes or revisions to the minutes?
No.
I move that they be approved.
And I said,
Okay, so we've got a second, so we've got the minutes have been approved. And, do we have any public comments?
Sorry?
No public comments? We don't have anyone who signed up for public comments.
public comments.
I can make a comment if you like.
Go ahead.
Well, I first of all, I want to apologize for being late. I'm actually coming from Cigarroa High School. We just had a job fair there. We had a real good reception with the students. Again, I'm with the Workforce Solutions for South Texas. I'm the student hireability navigator, and my target population is disability, people with disabilities ages 14 to 22. So, but I pretty much advocate for anybody, you know,
So
anybody
you're
who's.
Ms. Rincon, right?
I'm Ms. Rincon, yes.
Okay.
Patricia Rincon.
Oh, I thought that was you.
Thank you for allowing me to be
Well,
here.
thank you for being here, for being willing to participate. We
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
You have any comments for me? We're willing to hear you.
Well, I just finished listening to the last comment on the student being ready for employment. That's great. Or being ready to get out there and to be able to interact for employment. And that's great to hear. That's what we are striving for. That's what I'm striving for in my position at the Laredo, at the Workforce Solutions for South Texas. And we all kind of touch bases on the same thing. You know, there's the business representative part, which looks for the employers to employ these students, these youth. And for the vocational rehabilitation services part, they do the counseling and the preparation, the job readiness. At the workforce, we do the job readiness courses for the students, for the youth, for anybody really. But for the students, we encourage the students, the youth to come, you know, get those job readiness courses, their soft skills. The instructor gives them training in interview, how to interview, how to dress for success, how to speak business etiquette, how to speak on the phone, social networking skills where they can market themselves, like their skills and their abilities and things like that. So we have all of that working for our youth. So if you know of anything, send them our way, and we'll more than glad work with them for all those things as well.
Thank you, and I just want to let you know that we're thankful for the work you do. The hiring people with disabilities is one of the goals, one of the missions that this committee has forged upon the community, and try to identify the value that individuals with disabilities can provide in any organization. And so we thank you for actually doing the work, that goes into actually convincing organizations and hiring them and convincing them to keep them there after high school, because I know that's one of the biggest challenges that we have, is having them become hired permanently afterwards. And so we thank you for that.
Well, thank you for appreciating it.
Your work is very critical to making sure that we achieve the goals and mission of this specific committee as well.
And thank you very much for appreciating my work, and I do it with a passion. It's my passion to help people, help others, and I love Laredo. I'm born and raised, I don't know if I said that before, but I always strive to make our community stronger, and person by person, that's how we do it. Disabilities or not, I believe that we have different abilities, and we can bring different things to the table, and that's the message that I try to bring across. We have different abilities. Maybe someone has a disability, but that doesn't impede them from employment. It's just another challenge that we sometimes have to overcome. But that's the message. Broadly, that's the message that I bring to all these employers, and so that's what I'm working very hard. And thank you again for inviting me to these meetings, because it's a lot of input for me, insight, and I also need to figure out the gaps. What is that we need? Do we need the employers to be educated? Do we need to provide training for them? Do we need to provide the training for the students and for the employees? And so all of those little gaps, that's what we're trying to bridge them and hopefully be
And
successful.
we all know that many times when we're dealing with individuals with disabilities, the majority of the population is unfamiliar with their abilities and the value they bring to an organization. So it's our job to make sure that they understand what they can provide for that organization. So I thank you for the work you're doing. I know it's not easy to convince people of something that they've had a perspective on for many, many years.
A lot of the times it's changed, and we're a little bit afraid of. I did speak to some employers that were at the center. We had the first job hiring event for healthcare industries. And so I took 10-15 minutes to talk about the programs and the disabilities programs that we have, vocational rehab, and how we prepare those individuals for employment. So hopefully I came across to some of them so that they can give us an opportunity to bring these students with our internships and the programs that we have with the state, that they can give them the opportunity and open those doors for them. So hopefully we can employ them in the healthcare field as well. There's so many things that need to be done and back ends of it. And a lot of the times the professionals get too caught up in those things, and then there's so many other things that they can be done. So
Thank you for your comments.
thank you. That was long. Thank you.
The next item we have our discussion and possible action on the next steps. Update on the service announcements to hire persons with disabilities. Update on the public service announcements to hire individuals with disabilities. And so we had a slight discussion right now regarding we're discussing the minutes. And so I think that where we left off is we've identified what that public announcement would look like. At least there's 3 major categories that we'd like to make sure that are summarized. And the next step is to contact PAC as well. And I know that we've coordinated with Jaime regarding one of his students that's more than willing to participate in that videotaping. And so I thank you for your involvement in that.
So we'll reach out to the points of contact provided directly from UISD and LASD and coordinate an adequate time for PAC to go film. if the committee wants to provide a set of questions, that would streamline, the nature of the content, that we film. But if you already have something in mind, I mean, we can go with that as well. PAC is very accommodating, they've always done, great work for us in the projects that we've had.
Dr. Ruthinger, would you be willing to work with me or
Yes, of course,
trying to figure out if we can streamline some questions?
yes.
So we make sure that at least there's some elements within the testimonial that we absolutely need for curriculum.
And I'm sorry, these two students that were identified then are already working, or?
Already 90 days. He's not
Okay.
working, it's a job site, training site.
Okay, and he's where?
Oh, I don't remember, I don't know why. I'll
Okay.
get back to you.
No, it's fine, I will follow up
The
with
one
the
from
point of
our
contact.
student is called, the food supply extension.
Okay,
He's working at Chief, but I sent it to you this morning.
yes.
Just for the record, it's 11:37 with the others walked in. So she's now off the phone.
So, and we'll coordinate to see also with the employers what, authorization might be needed, especially if they work for a corporate site, just to see that we're okay and in compliance for them to be on film.
If I may add, I know that we were talking about employers. I actually just left my pay place, and they actually are training customer that's there, and he's here in Herrick. Very receptive employer. As a matter of fact, we were expecting when the services are over for that young man to be employed on a permanent basis in that place.
And that was where?
At Mike's paint place. As a matter of fact, our biggest delay was that he wanted to find out if there was a way that we could post on his website that they were diversified friendly. There was a big initiative in the state of Texas and across the nation, more so, for example, in San Antonio, in our office in San Antonio. It's the initiative is about inclusivity, so I think if we ourselves in Laredo can embrace that and maybe make it one of our trajectories or one of our citywide models, I think it will trigger down to the businesses and the opportunity for employment for our population will be
Would
better.
the committee want this employer to be included in the filming, or?
The way that I understood it, we're going to do it in parts. One of the parts that we've already got kind of going is the on-the-job training that is done prior to graduation at both school districts. That's one piece. The other piece we discussed, is, this is no longer a student, this is an adult.
Yes,
that
and
has
but
already
he's
graduated.
actually on the
Okay.
job training, so you have on the job
So
training
you
in
want
schools.
students?
So we're doing students now, and then the other piece would be, I don't wanna, breach any confidentiality, I just wanna mention in passing, this is one example that you probably placed is a very charming young man who's in a wheelchair who works on Jackman, the movies.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
one of my places.
Okay, well, see, then the next piece could be people that are already out there working.
After
Or
high
peop-
school.
Or even the idea that someone is training, because parents and the community needs to understand that we don't just place them right after graduation. There's actual training. The state has an initiative to provide training so that people are equipped from the ages of 14 to 22, and then once they graduate, 18 or 22, they still do more training, work experiences, and we have employers that are friendly to that. And then we do they can see the whole trajectory of the importance of that training and the effectiveness of a young man like him being employed.
Well, I think, and that's the emphasis, that look, they're successful, look, they're working.
And also that the employers are willing to give them that opportunity.
And look how it's had a positive impact on the
Yes.
consumers of that business.
Mhm. Yes, true.
Chair, would we want to use this company as the employer side providing?
And there's many companies, there
Yeah,
really
I
are.
know that we're talking about students and now we're talking about somebody who's
Phase
no
two.
longer a student. okay?
Phase two, right?
Phase two.
But Okay, but what are we trying to do? What's the purpose of what we're doing?
We're
here?
trying to, I think, link,
And I think what's critical here is that we make sure that we're conveying to the employer that individuals with disabilities are hireable and they're trainable and they're
Well, I-
productive and they're and
I think that we should, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think that we should try to educate the employer by starting to remove the stigma that exists with people with disability. I'm an example of somebody who gave me an opportunity. I want to thank Ms. Andrea La Garza for giving me the opportunity to work. And not only that, I'm very grateful for TWC, VR, the vocational rehabilitation, because they send me the resources to be successful. They send me a trainer in technology, so I can use my computer. I can use my computer a lot better than what I used to. I'm very confident that I can attend clients now. When I first started, I wasn't that confident, but now I am, because thanks to the technology training that I have. And I think that if the employers take the time to see the person, not the disability,
That's right.
then they will see a person who's anxious and willing to work and to put everything in the table for success.
And Mr. Delgado, if I may, and that's the bottom line. You're being successful.
Yes.
And that's what we want
And
to
yeah,
show.
I want to.
That's how we want to educate other employees, potential employees, to
Yes.
see your success.
And I think if they interview Ms. De La Casa, she'll,
See, that might be someone else to interview.
I think that she can put a lot of input on her decision in hiring me, and I'm pretty sure I'm every day trying to exceed expectations. So
But then we're talking this would be face to face,
Yeah,
right? I'm
face
sorry,
to-
I'm just
Yes,
see
yes,
that
yes,
there's
yes,
things
yes,
that
yes,
to
yes,
know.
There's
Okay.
cases we're
So,
and I'm willing
To move
to
forward.
testimony or
Yes,
whatever.
it'll be LISD
You're on the list,
NUSD.
Mr. Delgado.
Because before I got hired at TWC, I had opportunities with several other companies, and one of them only had me answering the phone. Because pobrecito, está ciego, I guess. But I studied for something else. And then I worked for LISD, and all I got there was tutoring jobs. When I felt I can do a lot, I could have been a teacher assistant or something, but they never gave me opportunity because of the stigma that exists. Mainly the stigma. Because I know there were openings at LASD, and I felt qualified, but I never even got the interview. But that's okay. I'm not dwelling in the past. I'm looking forward, and I want to help people. I want to help the employers to hire people with disability, because when they hire people, a person with disability, and I don't care whether you're blind or not, I don't care what kind of disability. If that person is willing to work, he will be a good worker, a good employee.
And those are the types, if I may, I'll just interject, those are the type of things that I speak to about with employers. I tell them, just, give us an opportunity to show that, people with disabilities they have different abilities, they have abilities, it's just, just to give them the chance, and a lot of times it's to change, it's just a little different, it's, we are always hesitant to change, but we kind of get testimonials like Mr. Delgado's testimonial, and other employers who have employed people with disabilities, and that's where we get that feedback, and then we get a better reception.
That's what we're hoping to achieve with the PSAs,
Right.
to gain support.
And just like he said, that's exactly what I do. Like, I advocate for that, for not only to schools and to the districts, to education services, because we want to begin the sooner the better, but also employers, because since I'm there and I have a connection to the employers, I do the same. Every time I can get into a job fair or a hiring event and talk to employers, I'll do it anytime. I'll just be on top of that.
You know, and again, anything that we can do to bring down a barrier, okay, to prevent isolation, increase integration and participation, I think that's what we need to do, okay? And so I think that's important that we emphasize
And I wanna add
that's
also.
the purpose of our being here, okay, and so.
And I wanna add also that that's one of the reasons I am pushing to get in Laredo. Because we have a lot of ideas, and since I'm blind, I'm also advocating for people with blindness to not to give up on life. And we have a lot of projects, plus NFB encourages people to work. They don't call it a support group, they call it an action group. And that's what we are, we're an action group. And I try to encourage people who are blind not to give up, and that there's hope, and they can look at me as an example. And like I said, we're trying to make events. Hopefully by Tuesday I'll find out something about a class at LC that Mr. Saul Gonzalez and I want to start. It's a computer class for the blind. Hopefully it'll get done. It's going to be a slow start, but I feel that once it takes off, it will be a successful class. Plus other training that we want to bring to Laredo from the NFB. And that's one of the reasons I do it also, because I know there's a lot of people out there who don't know what ability they have till they start discovering it. So that's why I'm doing all this stuff. I talk too much.
You don't make sense.
Thank you, Mr. Legal.
Yes.
No, you don't talk too much.
I talk more than you.
That's
The
true.
next item we have is just discussion and action to increase the partners with others, partner with other services and agencies for people with disabilities like tennis for blind and parks and recreation.
Mr. Chair, I'm gonna go ahead and excuse myself and start.
Yes,
working on that
absolutely.
essay, okay?
And
Thank you.
Bardis, thank you so much for your helping us out every time.
Definitely.
Mr. Chair, this specifically item, you all have been working on building relationships, chamber, schools, workforce. And at one point, wanted to discuss a directory of all the agencies, groups that are working with people with disabilities. One, and she called because she presented to you, Tiana Torino from
Yes.
the Tennis Association, and wants to become more involved. They held an event at Martin High School with teaching kids tennis with Down syndrome. And then at the Market tennis courts is where they regularly hold tennis classes for people with visual disabilities. And so she just wanted to make sure that you all knew and how she could help, but she's also doing that. And so the question to bring back to you all is, do you all want to do what you had discussed one time, besides the networking that you're already building, the relationship with everybody involved, people with disabilities, workforce, training, services, a directory?
I think it's important. I think it's important that we have a directory where people can go in and receive resources. Every city has.
I think we've started that online.
You did.
But are you talking about an electronic type of thing like we have, or an actual paper kind of little pamphlet, like a trifold or something?
Up to you.
I
Up to you.
I think both would be beneficial because we are in a society or an area where people are still used for the paper, but there are a lot of people who, depending on the generation, that are more friendly with computers. And having that resource will help people reach out and connect, and it would make it easier for services to be provided.
I think Gutierrez has a good point, and I can share with you that Drug and Alcohol Commission, that was one of the first things they did. They came out with a 50-page document among themselves, and when they meet, they invite all the stakeholders. And 50 pages, 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 and among themselves. One of the things that the Drug and Alcohol Commission did was learn about each other and what the service, because they didn't know. There was one organization that was saying, I have 10 residential beds for treatment and I can't fill them. And the other agency said, well, they really knew that you had them.
We would have filled them.
We would have filled them. So they did both. They did a paper, and then they built a Facebook, and we were promoting it in the cities and health department's website. But I think they wanted both, but now they really want more an electronic version.
I think you need to do both because people at our level, okay, who work with organizations and agencies, we tend to do electronic stuff. We tend to research that immediately. But the actual client who actually needs the service doesn't always have access to a computer. And so for them, it's.
How would we make that available to the consumer? Who might need these resources? Where would we put these tripods or pamphlets?
Health centers, doctor's offices.
Doctor's offices?
Out in the community.
Out in the community. The only thing is, the biggest question is how do we make those copies and who pays for them? Is the mayor appropriating funding for that?
It's a question for the
I
mayor.
I'm planning to see him so I can ask him.
But again, making it available
Yeah.
through social media, through Facebook and websites, then they can, each individual can print their copy.
Mhm.
That's one way, but
Yes.
That's
yeah,
why I
you
asked
should.
electronically and not because I
At
think
least.
our website started,
The beginning, the
yeah.
beginning step.
And if I may, that's where I found you all, and on your website. So, and it's very helpful, by the way, because when I began working with Workforce Solutions, like I wanted to know where if I'm gonna go tell somebody you can look for a job, you can be employable, where are they gonna begin? And so that's what I did. I went into your website and I looked, and there's resources there. So it was very helpful. But again, like for me, I was looking precisely for that. But it is very helpful to have all those links there. Because you all have links, like for the TWC, for the vocational rehabilitation. So if you would add, but also like what I always think about is applications like for the younger generations. They're, they like it's instant. They call it instant. They get instant reward, and so they just want to poke, a couple of clicks, and I'm there. So I was also thinking of things like that, like an app, something, but also something that, like somebody said, I don't know if it was Dr. Gonzalez, but it was something that you can print out yourself, or somebody who's helping you, they can print it out for you.
I wanted to add, there is an organization in San Antonio that, you've seen those books that have the real estate information and everything. Well, she is one of our contacts in San Antonio, and she's been wanting to come down here. What she wants to do is she'll get businesses, for example, to sponsor the booklets and everything, and she becomes a resource. So in San Antonio, they actually have a book that's specifically for people with special needs. They do the printing, because I was thinking right now, the logistics of making the prints. I can outreach her and say, you know what, are you willing to canvass our area? We can provide you with leads. You would have to find sponsors. It would be a way to get the community involved, and at the same time to put out those booklets, because they have every single person who does any services for those individuals, doctors, nurses, the city, whatever, go into those booklets, and they can have it as a resource, which would probably eliminate the problem of having to figure out how you do print.
At least for now.
And so does she actually do the groundwork work to
Yeah.
figure out?
Yeah, because she's gonna get sponsors and
No,
sponsors.
not the sponsor part. Does she do the work of canvassing the community to find out all of the resources? You said doctors and nurses, and does she get all that herself too?
Yeah, she gets all that herself. If anything is provided, I can provide her a plethora of information. My vested interest is in making sure we educate the community and employers and anyone available. So I don't mind doing some of I'm always on the street, she always shaking. So we're hitting the streets, so we know those things. And if we provide those things, she would have to get
So
an element of
you would share, she would share
buying
resources. and
buying
we'll all
into
build-
those things.
We'll all build.
It's a form of advertising for an employer.
It's a form of advertising, and again, a lot of the services offered through the Workforce Solutions of Core South Texas, a lot of the employers don't realize that even though we're trying to look for employment for job seekers, they also get the advertisement part. you know, so they also get an influx of business. And so a lot of the times that's an incentive.
So I can commit to outreaching and seeing where we can connect, because I'm thinking the logistics of the printing, and I know that I would say at least 75% of the people that I work with are paper-based. They want to see something they can hold, as opposed to something they can see, because they're out of mind, out of sight. But if I have a parent who's coming in, whether it's a little, a young kid or an older person,
What is it?
I don't have the name
The
on it.
synergy will outreach
Yes,
person in San
yes,
Antonio?
in San Antonio.
To,
And that's so that we can develop a booklet along the.
Appreciate.
Her last name is Chicoine. Chicoine. I don't know, don't ask me how to spell it, but her last name is Chicoine. And she's a strong advocate for informing people with special needs.
Mr. Chair, and then we'll relook at the initial website with your initial links to start compiling them.
Yeah, because there may be other providers or other service providers and links
Well,
that.
Yeah, for example, the Tensos, they're not included. Yet they're
And I don't even
providing.
remember, do we have like the Stroke Association?
I wish sure, cause that's a really good idea too.
We don't.
The American Heart Association?
Yeah, the
Oh,
Stroke
there's
Association.
another stroke, yes, that's
Yeah,
true.
there's a Stroke
It's a-
Association. And the only reason I'm asking is that, unfortunately, I have a friend who recently suffered a stroke. And, it's been a challenge, okay, so I know that he was approached by a service organization while he was in the hospital, where they have like a help group and things of that nature, and I don't know if it's in our website or not.
No, but we
That's
need to
right.
put them.
And just like there's cancer victim assistance programs, or there's also stroke victims, and so I think that's, and there's quite a bit, a number of people who suffer strokes in this city.
Yes.
And I was not aware that there are no physicians that treat strokes. Is that true?
Nah, we don't have any neuropsychologists or neurotherapists to treat in that area. But we're working on that. We're working on
Typically
that.
they'll get, through the hospital, there's speech language pathologists that will start the rehab, if it's appropriate, if it's left temporal lobe type injury, they'll start working on speech therapy.
Are we doing teleconferencing with those services right now?
No, it's more like there is some speech and cognitive rehabilitation limited
It's very
services with
basic.
private. And so if you don't have a
But when you
means,
just recently suffered a stroke and there's medical interventions to be taken, there is no one in Laredo who's willing to take it.
If
Is
I
there?
may.
I mean, if there is, correct me, but
No,
I'm just only asking because I recently run into several people who have had a stroke and they said I had to wait, or I had to be transferred, or I was.
San
I
they
was-
have to be
I was
transferred to San
belonged to
Antonio.
San Antonio, it's like, even though there's nobody here, no one was willing to take me, no.
My brother, if I may just real quickly, my brother suffered a massive stroke. He was taken to doctor's hospital. When I got there, I spoke to a neurosurgeon, and she told me there's pretty much nothing I can do for your brother. And I said, well, you have to do something because he's gonna suffer another stroke. I've been in healthcare, I know what's going on. So anyway, they had to fly him. They had to fly him because there was nothing they could do for him. He was still speaking, he was still moving. He had already suffered one, and he was on the verge of suffering another one. He had to be flown out, and he received all his medical treatment post-stroke in San Antonio at Baptist.
but your question, Chair,
Yes.
including
They
us,
don't have
we need to,
They don't have anything here.
Brooks County does have some services too,
just recently,
but
what are your
sustaining for everyone, we don't. But Brooks County does have acute medical care for the acute phase. Yeah, we've got physicians and internals and cardiologists with really initial, but for rehab, speech, cognitive, a little bit of root count, but then, yeah, most of the time they're sent out.
I was just kind of surprised. Laredo has all kinds of positions, but yet we don't
Now,
have that
on that
type
note,
of treatment
I
here.
can tell you that, we're working with, UT Health San Antonio, and hopefully within the next 3 to 5 months have, a neuro clinic at the health department with neurologists from UT Health to look at stroke, Alzheimer's, dementia. It's a beginning, but and the hope with the residents that we have here in internal medicine that we can generate that specialty here that we really don't have per se right now.
Well, my friend ended up at Doctors, then ended up at Retama, then ended up at Breda Specialty, then went back to Retama. Okay, because that's how it was. Okay, so I guess my question is, and I was gonna ask you, do you have an idea of the number of people who suffer strokes in the city?
We have anecdotal information that is not reportable, so we don't, but I know we do have a stroke association, we have an Alzheimer's association that meet at LMC. It's a small group, but they're beginning. The other one who would have members is Rotary Club.
So we should have those organizations you mentioned also the resources
Mhm.
on our webpage.
And that's why we'll increase the.
I guess it just become like something for me because it's like it got so close to me this time, and it was like, what? And I was curious. I said, well, how many people? And it turns out that while I was at the hospital, I ended up knowing 2 or 3 other individuals, relatively young, who had suffered a stroke. And my question is, well, how frequently does this happen? And we don't have anyone to address the issue immediately after it just occurred. It's blown out. Just
And there's a lack also of support groups for different needs of the moment. You would think with the population as large as it is and as much as it's growing, that it would, sprout out some support groups for, even the family that is supporting a stroke victim. Many times they need a support group. People who have amputations, there's so much diabetes in Laredo because we're Hispanic. And so there's a lot of diabetes. And you have families that suffer amputation, someone in the family. You would think there'd be a support group, but there isn't. I mean, it's cancer. You'd think there'd be a support group for the families of people dealing with a family member who's suffering from chemo and all the associated problems with it.
And I know that it creates an enormous challenge for the families because many times the families have to literally stop working because nobody is around to they can't get the help.
Yes, and also for cancer, there's a lot of people that go broke because they get cancer. And families try to help with care again, they need support groups.
So that individual that had originally been very independent now has become absolutely dependent on someone to feed them, change them, clothe them, wash them.
Because not only does it affect them physically, it affects people
And also
emotionally. The emotional,
Impact is
Yeah.
huge.
we have a veteran who has always been very, very hard. I mean, he's one of our members of our church. And he suffered a stroke and he cries for everything now. And the emotional impact, more so than the physical impact, is tremendous for a lot of people because they don't have control of their emotions. So one of those things that creates depression, a whole bunch of things. But bringing awareness is, I think, the key to everything.
Part of it.
And also, if I may add, correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of the times it's very important to get that rehabilitation as soon as possible because it
Yes.
creates a tremendous amount of difference. My brother, I can tell you, you can see him now, this happened in 2014, you can see him now and you wouldn't even guess that he had a stroke. I mean, he does everything. he works, he drives, he goes out of town, he parties. I mean, he does everything like he did before. And I credit a lot of it to the intervention that he got at Baptist, but also the extensive. I mean, he was already fed up with the rehab caregivers, but it made a tremendous amount of difference. And now you could see it in him, like you could see that difference. Otherwise, he may be like your friend and be completely independent, dependent of someone else. And that is also very important. The quality of care and the time frame that you get it on, it's vital. It's very, very important.
Mr. Chair, if we want, for the next meeting, we can also invite Brooke Buchanan to share their input into the whole association, the rehabilitation, the services that they provide for people with disabilities, both acute and long-term.
And you know, and I guess what happens after all this is that when we think about people with disabilities, we think that that's the way they were born, okay? And we don't think that one of us could go next month and we could be disabled as well. And it happens at any point in your life, okay?
I remember in Study Carmichael when we were meeting at Hards and there was someone that was being real obstinate about giving a person with a disability, you know, any kind of opportunity or you know, she would always say what you just said, sir. She would say, all it takes is one accident. You know, and you never know. And so,
Or all it takes is getting old.
I once asked
that's right.
I once asked a neurologist where I used to work at. I asked him, how do you go? Because we were looking at an MRI and the patient's brain bleed. And I asked him, how do you go from having dinner? Because that's what they told us. The person was having dinner and all of a sudden they just slumped over and he was completely in a vegetative state. So I told him, what does it take? How do you do this? And he says, nothing. It takes absolutely nothing. It takes from you having dinner with your family, having a great time, to you being here. It doesn't have to be a predisposition. It could, diabetes, high blood pressure, stress, things like that. But it could be just something that happens in your body, and now you were there, and now you're here. And so, yeah, it could be anybody at any moment.
That's the only organ that cannot touch blood is the lung.
I'm sorry.
Isn't that strange?
Yes.
That's always, what is it called after those? It's a blood-brain barrier, but the brain cannot have blood touch it because that part of the brain will die. It's the only organ.
If it tears the artery, yes.
You know?
And like I said, it just reinforces the idea that we're all very vulnerable. We all don't like to think about it, but it happens, it can happen at any moment. And so, while we're healthy and capable, I think we need to do whatever we can to help
That's right.
bring that to facilitate their life and make it easier for them.
That's right.
Okay. Next item is legislative issues. Dr. Gonzalez, I think you put this one on the
Yeah, Mr. Chair, we put this on because we are in the legislative session and our representatives are proposing different bills. And so I wanted to let you all know that we've asked them for the bills that they are introducing, so you all can review and know. But at the same time, like we did last legislative session, you sent a letter to our policymakers, Representative Raymond, Representative Tracy King, and Senator Zaparini, to let them know that you're doing this, and they know that you're monitoring and support anything that would improve training, resources, workforce development for people with disabilities. So that's why we put the item, see if you wanted to do a letter to them like you did last time. And then second, we've already asked them to let us know what bills they're sponsoring so we can let you know. And then if you know the bill that you want to support.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, and I thank you for bringing this back up to our attention. And absolutely, yes, I think the committee would agree that we'd more than be willing to send them a letter letting them know that we support any kind of legislation that would
Have a positive impact.
would advocate and support individuals with disabilities.
Okay, we'll work on that.
I know that Dr. Sabatini is right now is working on Senate Bill 31, which covers guardianship and for individuals with special needs. There's reform that started taking place in January of this year, and it's still in session and everything. But I think it's extremely important. We don't see it very often here in Laredo, but in San Antonio, it's very predominant. We have people who live with parents or their biological family, but they have guardians who are the ones that advocate for him for the jobs and for employment and decision-making process. So I know that we're a little bit foreign to it, but we won't be foreign to it very long. But I think that is one of the things that we really need to look at, because as people age, I see that more so now than I had before, especially with the Night to Shine. I see a lot of individuals with special needs and their parents are elderly. And when their parents get to the point where they can't function, guardianships will have to be awarded to someone else so they can continue living. We have people in their 50s and 60s.
Let me give you some perspective on that. Formerly used to work for an agency where we dealt with individuals with intellectual disabilities. A lot of them get older and their parents are older, much older. Parents eventually die. Someone needs to take guardianship. One of the biggest issues, the challenges, is that guardianships are not free. Okay, you need an attorney to write it up for you, and most clients don't have, or the families don't have the money to pay for a guardianship. And so when you don't have a guardianship, then for any medical reasons, it goes to the Guardianship Committee at Health and Human Services Commission. The Health and Human Services Commission does not react and doesn't respond like overnight to any medical or healthcare issue that you may have. And so that takes time, and so those are the issues with guardianships. And so if the senator can do anything to facilitate and expedite that, make it faster and easier and less expensive, okay, people will be more willing to do guardianships, and people are going, yeah, I'll do the guardianship. What's it going to cost $1,800 or $2,200? I don't have it. How do I do it? Okay, so that's one of the biggest challenges.
Now, it's important for us to also understand that the state of Delaware and Texas are the only two states in this whole United States that have supported decision making. We are the only ones, Texas and Delaware. So that is a big asset. So other states are looking into the possibility of assisting and becoming partners, or basically doing the same thing, because it does make a difference for individuals who are older and who have disabilities.
Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna have to excuse myself, I've got another meeting, but Andres here for this now. But we'll work on the letter,
Okay, Doctor.
and we'll start looking at the director as well.
Absolutely. Thank you
And
so
if
much for your
there's
help.
nothing else, I'll move to adjourn. Is there nothing else?
I don't think there's anything else. There's just announcements.
Announcements?
No, the only announcement I have to say,
That's all they sent you.
Thank you.
the Night to Shine was, for us, was a very good success. We had over 220 individuals with special needs and over 150 individuals who were not special needs who attended and volunteered at the event. I know it's an isolated occurrence, but out of that spurred some good successes. We actually had a bowl-a-thon yesterday, and we were able to refer over 36 individuals who had an activity yesterday that they enjoyed tremendously, and we are planning other activities to integrate ideas to bring groups of people. Yesterday, the bowl-a-thon, we had a variety of individuals, both special needs and non-special needs. So when we bring communities together, we make a difference. And so for those of you that supported our program, I am very appreciative and everything, because it did make a difference. We had a lot of charanga, a lot of dancing, a lot of food. Chick-fil-A was, they provided 3,300 meals free of cost to us. Okay, so which was really neat. And we're looking forward to it next year again.
Thank you. Thank you for what you do. Any other announcements? No? Okay. Can I hear anyone?
Move to adjourn.
Can we adjourn? I have a second. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for being here.